get your fix.
Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready? Are you ready to get your fix? Are you ready to get your fix?
With the Wicks here on this beautiful Thursday, December 2nd, 2021. And welcome to the show, whether that be on Facebook or YouTube. And if you are on YouTube, go do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. It'd be much, much appreciated. Now, you guys probably have already noticed a different change of scenery here. And that's because one person who is also here with me today on the show, decided to have me over, let me stay here for the night. I got, my dog Nash has to go to the vet, has to get figured out, and stuff like that. So hopefully all things go well with that. But the man who let me and is doing the show here with me today, he's on the show. Well, I guess we'll just bring him in right now, ladies and gentlemen. Y4. Is it hanging? Damn, she's hanging. A little to the left, a little to the right. Left today. Oh, that's all right though. So we got some football tonight, huh?
Yep. Cowboys, Steelers.
Cowboys, Saints.
Saints.
If it was the Steelers, oof.
It was the S word.
Yeah, it was one of those S's. It'll be a fun game. We'll get to that here in just a bit. But first and foremost, a familiar face is back in the NFL. And guess who's back? Adrian Peterson is back with the Seattle Seahawks after, a short stint of free agency after getting released from the Tennessee Titans, in which he only played 3 games, had 27 carries for 82 yards and a touchdown in that span. And in that span, the Tennessee Titans kind of struggled a lot to figure out their offense, kind of get moving without Derrick Henry. Wide receivers were kind of out. Julio Jones, he's kind of, I don't know what the fuck, he's gone. He's been really non-existent. I think he's hurt at this time. A.J. Brown's been dealing with a little bit of some food poisoning and whatnot from good old Chipotle, but I mean it's going to happen whether you like it or not. But he should be, he's back, he's healthy, he's doing his thing. He just didn't do that well last week, where we seen the Titans fail, I think, yet again to the Houston Texans, I believe they played. I want to say, so that was a brutal one. But Adrian Peterson is back, and shortly after the Seattle Seahawks decided to sign Adrian Peterson, I believe for the rest of the season. It's not any longer than that. And one tweet actually said, "Hey, Seattle Seahawks sign Adrian Peterson. Another sign they are in win now mode." All I gotta say is LOL.
Yeah.
I
think their season's long gone.
Oh yeah, 3-8 last.
And AP, legend. He was a legend.
Definitely.
But AP today, regardless of how he looks, regardless of how good a shape he's actually in, is still not the AP of yesterday.
Well, and I think even then, he is a one-dimensional back. He's going to be that guy who you're going to get 3 yards.
Goal
line, yep. Right then and there. Third down, goal line type of back. He's just going to punch up the middle, get those few yards, inch you closer to either a touchdown or a first down. This is an okay signing, I feel like. It's definitely not going to help Seattle. Like you mentioned, I mean, they're in trouble. 3-8, last in the NFC West. And I don't see them... I see them winning a couple more games throughout the stretch, but it's going to be tough because they went away completely from going to...
That's San Fran, Cardinals, and Rams, right?
Yep. They're all above. And San Fran's 6-5.
San Fran's been playing well with Jimmy. I mean, that division is not the Seahawks.
No, at all. And I think we could have seen this happening earlier in the offseason when all the speculation was Russell's going to the Chicago Bears or Russell's going to the San Francisco 49ers, and that relationship is kind of wilted away.
Yeah, I think it's the end of the Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson era. I could even see him moving on from Pete Carroll next year.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that it would have been, I think it was True Identity Tuesday where I mentioned that it's like you're gonna at least see one of those guys disappear from Seattle, whether that's Russ or whether that's Pete Carroll. But you very well could see both.
Yeah, it could be a whole new era.
Do you think Pete Carroll was a really good college coach in USC?
Yeah, he's done well in the NFL too.
Oh yeah,
won the 2 Super Bowls. Did they win one?
They won against the Broncos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whooped the crap out of him, I think.
Yeah, because I think Peyton ended up beating Cam Newton.
Yeah, the following year.
Yep.
So yeah, he has a ring and.
He has the resume to do whatever he wants. He's 7 years old. There's no way he's going to go back in the college atmosphere, even though there's plenty of jobs. But if he does...
Plenty of money, too.
Plenty. Not as much as some of those head coaches are making now in college football. Brian Kelly, $95 million in, 9 years or 7 years or something like that. And then you got Lincoln Riley, 10-year, $100 million or something like that.
Yeah, they're making more than NFL coach.
Yeah, and even with Lincoln Riley... going there, they paid for him to go there. They literally paid off both of his houses, which was over $50,000. Gave him a private jet that he can use whenever he wants, and all this little stuff for him to actually go there and decide to be their head coach. But Adrian Peterson to Seattle. They have Alex Collins in that backfield. Rashad Penny's he's banged up, but he's hit or miss. DJ Dallas, we've seen him get the rock a couple times on Monday night, but something's just not right in Seattle, and I think it's offense. Their defense is flying around playing to the best of their ability, but Seattle's offense, they're averaging under 25 minutes of possession or time of possession, which is last in the NFL, and this is the worst I think in the NFL for since 18 years ago or something like that. It's been this bad for a team, so. It's a good sign for Adrian Peterson. I'm not so sure it's a good sign for Seattle because their season's, it's in the dumps. They lose one more, they have a losing season, and that's the first losing season under Russell Wilson for Seattle. So it'll be interesting kind of see how they use him. I still think they're going to roll with Collins and DJ Dallas. It's kind of like what Tennessee did with Adrian Peterson. Well, let's bring him in, bring the hype up, and we're going to use him very little. And then realize, we got other backs that are a little bit better, a little bit younger, cheaper. AP is probably pretty cheap, but it's just they're probably not going to use him that well. And if they do, they're probably going to use him to finish off the season and make their record a little bit better than what it is. But I don't think it's going to be much better.
They might win a game or two.
Yeah, I think at the end of it, I went through their last 6, and I think they for sure could win 2 games out of their next ones. So we're looking at 5-12. It's a down year. That is a bad year,
especially for a team that's been so good for so long.
Right. Since Russell Wilson's been there, they've never had a losing season. They've consistently been in the playoffs, been to 2 Super Bowls. Should have ran the ball with Marshawn Lynch there against New England, but I was with you in that Super Bowl. That was fucking. Yeah. That was awesome. Malcolm Butler sealed it there. That was awesome. But other than the Seattle Seahawks signing Adrian Peterson, some more news broke out. Recently we talked about Antonio Brown and his personal chef coming out saying, hey, Antonio Brown used a fake vaccination card to kind of pass over the COVID protocols for the NFL. And today it has been announced that not only Antonio Brown, but 2 others have been suspended for 3 games without pay because they violated COVID protocols and they misrepresented their vaccination status. It actually just came out too that they all used fake cards. All of them had fake vaccination cards. And at first I was like, well, if you misrepresented your vac status, did they just go get a professional one done and say, hey, a doctor note kind of thing? Yeah, he got it. Don't worry about it. And kind of slid it under their table, but they have not been vaxxed at all this whole season. I don't think it's that big of a deal, obviously. They wanted to play football. That is the big deal, is faking the vaccination status, because you don't have to. You can still play unvaxxed. You just have to wear a mask everywhere you go. You have to be separated in different groups here and there. It's it's a whole ordeal. But I mean,
Yeah, I think with this situation, you just got to be honest. Like, it's your choice, but be upfront about it. Don't try lying about it because that just looks bad.
oh yeah, it definitely looks bad, and with no pay, I mean that's a couple $1 million they're going to be missing there, or probably $1 million because they get game checks. So I guess maybe a couple mil, especially for Antonio Brown. But the other ones that were suspended 3 games without pay from the NFL are free agent John Franklin III. If you guys don't know who that is, he was one of the stars of Last Chance U on Netflix. I can't remember what season, but I think he was a quarterback.
Yeah.
And then when he got to the NFL, he kind of transitioned into a wide receiver, kick return, punter, or punt returner type of guy. And he's a free agent right now. So for his stand, or for what the NFL kind of said for him, is if he were to get signed, he's automatically, like, as soon as he gets signed, he misses the next 3 games, no matter what, no pay. So it's pretty much a lose-lose situation for any team and for him. Because if you just go and sign him, the only reason you're signing him, because the trade deadline's passed and all this is passed, is because you need him. And you need him right then and there. So his season's pretty much over and done with, because there's no way you're going to sign a guy and then have him miss 3 games.
No.
Like, especially this late in the season, we're on week 13 already. I mean, it's flying by. So,
Yeah, unless he thought he could help you in the playoffs, then yeah, I don't see anybody signing him this year.
exactly. And I don't think that's the case because he really hasn't seen any playing time since being in the NFL. He's there on the practice squad doing his little things, but he's just not good enough to be a number 3 receiver, be a number 2, be a number 1 receiver in the NFL at this point. So I think he's done. But the other one, but other than John Franklin III, a free agent, the Bucs wide receiver Antonio Brown, Bucs safety, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers safety Mike Edwards, also violated COVID protocols and faked his vaccination card. It's really interesting because with them faking their vaccination cards, they're not wearing masks inside the facility or on the sidelines or in press conferences. But yet, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers haven't really had to deal with too many COVID problems. People missing because of COVID-related symptoms. So I mean, it's a little fishy on that. I mean, do the masks really work? Does the vaccination really work? And all this stuff kind of plays a part of that. And I think a lot of it kind of goes back to your body and what your body is capable of fighting off and all that sort of stuff. But I mean, it's just really interesting to kind of see all these other teams with almost like 99% of the team is vaccinated, and all of a sudden 1 week all the teams all the players are ready to rock and roll. They're playing. Then next week you're missing 7 or 8 of these guys because they have COVID. And a lot of them are vaccinated.
And that is a weird situation with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If they got COVID and that's how they found out that they weren't vaccinated. Oh, so they never got COVID.
Basically, what happened was Antonio Brown. He has this the pending, there's still a civil case against some of his. I can't remember really what it was, harassment or domestic abuse or something like that. I can't really remember off the top of my head what it was, but it was something. It was an investigation they were doing. And his personal chef at the time, who is not his personal chef anymore, basically came out and is trying to throw AB under the bus and pretty much just said, hey, he's not vaxxed. He gave you guys a fake card, and then the story kind of went away. It was the Bucs were oh no, we dove into it. Everyone's really fine, pretty much fine. There were no irregularities, or however you say that, found in the vaccination cards and blah blah blah. So they were fine. And then all of a sudden, they go and do a little investigation. The NFL and the NFLPA do an investigation. And kind of what happened was the Bucs helped them out on this investigation. So the Bucs aren't going to get fined in any way. They're not going to get in trouble in any way or face any suspensions or anything like that because they helped and they were upfront with it. Just basically these 3 people are pretty much screwed for the next 3 games. No pay, no nothing. For Antonio Brown, he's really not screwed, but I'm not really sure 100% how they're going to go forward with the 3-game suspension, because it seems, from what I was seeing, Antonio Brown is already going to miss the next 2 games. Already going to miss that. And so do they start it after he misses those 2 games, or do they start it now? And I'm assuming they're starting it now. So it's Okay, he's just literally going to miss one game that he probably would be in, probably not be in.
So, with these guys, how come you think that their punishment is so much more severe than Rodgers? Was it because Rodgers was up front with the team, up front with the NFL, and then just deceived the media, or why would he get treated differently?
So I seen something about a tweet, and it said like this situation is a lot different from Aaron Rodgers, and basically, I think these guys are getting the brunt of it, and it's more severe, and it's more how do you want to put it? It's way worse than what Aaron did in the fact that Aaron already went to the NFL, the NFLPA, and said, look, like, I'm not vaccinated, but I have my own doctor, and basically we're trying to re-up my immune system. Is that possible to be under the category of vax? And they said, no. And so he didn't care. He was like, well, I'm still not going to wear a mask, and you're not going to force me to do all this stuff, even though they could have, and that situation. So he didn't lie. These three faked their cards and got away with it for so long. And I think that's why the NFL is like, hey, listen, like, we told you to do a simple thing, and it's tell us your vaccination status, give us your card, proof, and the rest is up to you guys. Like, you guys can go play if you're unvaccinated. If you're vaccinated, you guys can go play. But there's different protocols in place for vaccinated players, and there's different protocols for unvaccinated players. Because I think if you are vaccinated in the NFL, you get COVID, it's only a 10-day period where you have to sit out. 10 days. But if you're unvaccinated, it's 14 days. You have to have multiple negative tests before you can even step on the field. Until you have back-to-back negative tests in a 24-hour span, then you can come back. But for vaccinated players, 10 days, you don't have to test negative at all in those 10 days. So they can go right back into play. So if these guys are really not vaccinated, but they're saying they're vaccinated, they're kind of
infecting players and
causing a whole mess.
It's crazy because with the Rodgers situation, the media was a bunch of people were calling for his job.
Well, a lot of them.
And I haven't really heard much about this.
You know, this whole day, this actually broke quite early this morning, and there really hasn't been much talk on it.
Yeah.
And I think it has to do with the fact that Aaron Rodgers has been one of the big faces of the NFL for so long. I mean, he's the reigning MVP. Yeah. So, I mean, and Antonio Brown, he just has that little spurt of greatness when he was with Pittsburgh, and then the things he's been able to do since then, stay kind of consistent and stay on that good roll with Tom as of late, but he's not a big face in the NFL, so they're like, oh, okay, well, the investigation's over and done with. Yeah. Like, sick, they fined him, they suspended him, no pay, all right, sounds good.
Yeah, the media was asking for Rodgers' head.
Oh yeah, they were like, get him out of the NFL, you should be fired. It's bullshit. I mean, he did his own thing to make sure he was as healthy as possible. I mean, he had COVID, asymptomatic, really wasn't, down in the dumps. He was just fine, running 2-minute offenses probably by himself in his house, and he didn't even practice the whole week of that Rams game, and he still went out there and fucking got the dub. So, I mean, it's interesting, this whole COVID situation. Hopefully eventually kind of subsides and goes away for forever. Stay as healthy as you can. Drink plenty of fluids. That'd be water. Maybe get some Gatorade in there, to like 1 a day or something, to get those sugar levels, those electrolytes up.
Take your vitamins.
Yep, vitamins help that immune system. Emergency, I think that is what, like that packet they put in some water. That's supposed to be pretty solid for you. But also to go along with this, there was a statement from Sean Burston, who represents Antonio Brown. He is Antonio Brown's lawyer, and he said, Mr. Brown is vaccinated and continues to support the vaccine for any person for whom it is appropriate. The NFL made its determination, and instead of going through the drawn-out and distracting process of challenging the outcome, Mr. Brown wrapped this up promptly, and he will make the most of this time by treating his ankle injury. Mr. Brown will be motivated, well-rested, in the best shape of his life when he returns in Week 16. So that was literally not too long ago either, and his lawyers say, look, he's vaxxed. Like, that was not a fake vaccination card. So there's two sides of the story, and I don't know really what to believe, you know?
I mean, if his lawyer's saying that he's vaxxed, then he's vaxxed.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's so easy to tell if he's vaxxed or not.
Exactly.
After you say that.
I mean,
So,
those medical records and...
it sounds like someone's trying to sabotage him then. If the guy that he was working with before says that he had a fake vax card and he's been vaxxed this whole time, I mean, why would you make something like that up?
Right? I mean...
So there's-
It's really, really interesting kind of what's going to play out, because if this comes out true, he is vaccinated, the NFL is under fire. Like, they are going to take some heat from this. Like, why'd you suspend him 3 games for having a legit vaccination card? You know, maybe it was a little off from the other vaccination cards or something weird, but if he's vaxxed, I mean, you could very well see Antonio. I mean, I doubt he'd go after the NFL. I mean, 3 games, and he's already out 2 of them, so I mean, it is what it is. It's a very interesting situation, especially with COVID and all that. But 3 games, no pay because they misrepresented their vaccination status. John Franklin, Antonio Brown, and Mike Edwards are out for 3 more weeks. So now let's get to tonight's game. Thursday night matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and the New Orleans Saints should be a banger. Cowboys are 7-4 first in the East. The Saints 5-6, third in the South, tied with the Atlanta Falcons. Now this should be a very, very interesting game, I think, for the most part, because on the Saints side, they are without Alvin Kamara, their star running back, because of a knee issue. They are also out both offensive tackles, Ryan Ramczyk and Taron Armstead, both the knee problems as well. And they are also missing defensive end Marcus Davenport for the Saints. And Taysom Hill is actually going to get the start tonight over Trevor Siemian. I think this has kind of been a long-awaited situation, but also he was dealing with a little bit of an ankle injury. That's why he didn't play last week, even though he was ready to rock and roll, it looked like, on the sideline. But Taysom Hill is going to get the start, and it's going to be interesting to kind of see what he's able to do, because we really haven't got to see him at quarterback.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are excited for this. I mean, this will be first starting game all season.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much his career almost.
Incentive-based contract that he has, it's really weird. And I mean, it really hasn't mattered this year, but are they playing in New Orleans or at Dallas?
I believe they are in New Orleans, if I had to guess. I think so. But Taysom Hill, it's going to be really interesting because he's that. Yeah, they're playing in New Orleans. Okay. So they're playing in New Orleans, so I mean, there's going to be some hype around him, I feel like. One person at work was like, "What do you think, they're going to use the Wildcat a lot?" And I was like, "No." You don't want to necessarily use the Wildcat the whole game, because it's a one-dimensional offense at that point, and you're kind of using him as, there's going to be a lot of, I feel like, play action, a lot of RPOs, or stuff like that.
Who's playing running back for him?
So if Mark Ingram,
Oh, okay.
if he's healthy, I think he was questionable last week. He might be a go this week, but otherwise it's like what was his name? He was like a 3rd string running back last week. Didn't really do anything. Like, he couldn't get the run going. I think he had less than 20 yards or 20-some yards, something like that. So nothing special. But they are also missing, their star receiver, Michael Thomas, for the rest of the year. Alvin Kamara's all banged up. Their offense is really taking a hit as of late, and their defense is really hit or miss. Big time. If they hit, they're hitting, and they're going to be really good. But if they're missing, it's going to be a sloppy game from the Saints. And on the Cowboys side of things, they are missing their head coach, Mike McCarthy. He tested positive for COVID earlier in the week. And it might be a good thing. I believe they are missing a couple of other coaches, if I'm not wrong. And I guess Ben McAdoo, former Giants head coach, will assume a coaching role. He will be up in the booth, so I'm assuming that might have to focus on maybe offensive play calling or whatever Dan Quinn. If Dan Quinn isn't back, he might be on defense and calling their defensive play calling. But there's also with them missing their head coach and stuff and all that. There's some good news. Amari Cooper, star receiver, is back, cleared COVID-19 protocols. He will be playing tonight in a big role. I think it's going to be exciting to watch him and Dak Prescott kind of start where they left off previously a couple weeks ago. And then also, just recently, a couple hours ago, the Cowboys activated DeMarcus Lawrence from injured reserve.
I forgot about that guy.
Right? I watched, when I was watching Hard Knocks training camp, they kind of went through it, and then all of a sudden he got injured. Now he is literally just out. What are we going to do? What's going to happen? Micah Parsons has stepped up in a huge way, looking like one of the early front runners of defense, or for defensive player of the year, or defensive rookie of the year, I should say. But with DeMarcus Lawrence on that Cowboys front, it's going to be very, very interesting how much pressure they can get on Taysom Hill, especially with the Saints missing both offensive tackles and no run game. Like, they might be a one-dimensional offense.
They might need Taysom Hill to be running for his life, actually, but...
Yeah, I think there's definitely going to be a lot of those RPOs, a lot of screens. It's going to be, a lot of check down throws, and it might look smooth for the Saints, but I think after all is said and done, you're going to see that the Cowboys finish with more time of possession. You're going to see, more. There's probably going to be more. They're going to win the takeover battle, but I think it's going to be a close one.
Diggs, he's playing.
Yeah, he's playing.
I could see him getting a pick today.
Oh yeah.
It's been a while.
I think he got one. It wasn't last week, probably 2 weeks ago. I think for sure. So I think he has like 8 or 9 interceptions on the year. So he's still balling out. But also to add to that, he has let up some of the most yards to receivers this year.
I mean, that's the give or take thing. The more aggressive you're going to play, the more you're going to give up.
Yeah.
But if you can give up 2 and bring back a pick 6, I mean...
Exactly. Give up 50 yards, get an interception. All right, kind of cancels out or something like that.
It's like, you got to weigh out the risk there, but, I mean, if you can create turnovers, then...
Exactly. It's kind of like, it reminds me of when the Vikes had Case Keenum when we went on that run and went to the NFC Championship. It was like, we really weren't used to a quarterback taking shots, but Case Keenum was not afraid to take shots. It felt like he was throwing those deep balls. If it was going to get picked, it was going to get picked, and that sucked, and we all hated it. But if he completed it like he did the Minneapolis Miracle, it's like, thank you for taking that shot. Like, thank goodness. Like, some things, obviously you hate to see, but other things, I mean, as soon as, like, if he lets up a touchdown or if he lets up 100 yards, as soon as he has that interception, the rest of that kind of goes out the window. And you're like, oh, well, he had an interception. Like, he balled out tonight. You completely forget about, how many yards he let up. But it's going to be a good game. I think Cowboys have struggled. They've definitely struggled as of late, and if they win this one, I think we can officially say the Cowboys are going to win their division, because the Eagles lost to the Giants somehow. Yeah. And if the Eagles would have won that game, I think the Eagles would have had a very, very good shot at winning their division. But if the Dallas Cowboys, because they're 7-4, I think Eagles are 5-6 right now.
So are football team.
Yeah, Washington football team, and they're getting going.
Yeah, they're starting to roll.
With God.
It
is Taylor's
good
really
I love him.
He's balling out. That's the heart he has, and just what he's able to do on that. Keep the composure.
If he keeps this up, I might have to buy a freaking Heineke jersey.
That would be. God, that's one jersey I really never. I think honestly, if I get a Washington jersey, it's gonna be Sean Taylor, no doubt in my mind. Like, who else kind of stands out? Who was the wide receiver that played there for? Was it Santana Moss?
Mm-hmm.
Or Santonio? Or Santana Moss. God, he was a freak. Otherwise,
Clinton Forrest, didn't they?
They did for a while before he went to. I think he went to Kansas City.
I can't remember where he went after that.
Clinton Portis, though, I know he played for Washington because I can remember the Portis on the back. So Washington, I mean, they're an interesting team. They had to go for 2 and had to go for 4th down the whole game last time on Monday night.
Kicker out.
So the kicker, he went to go kick a field goal. It got blocked, and Seattle picked it up, and they're running down the field, and you see the kicker just running his little heart, like just sprinting down the field. Then all of a sudden, you don't really see anything happen with his legs. He just fucking slides. And you could, right when he slid, you're like, oh, okay, something's not right. pulled his hammy, and they were going to let Tress Way kick field goals and extra points where they were debating on it. But he has no kicks in the NFL. He has never kicked an extra point, never kicked a field goal. But in college, he was 11 for 11 on extra points. But he was like 3 for 9 or 3 for 12 on field goal attempts. So it was really sketchy. But they figured out a way to do their best and win 17-15 over Seattle. So, but tonight's game, Dallas, New Orleans, in New Orleans, who dat nation. I mean, you might get a nice loss on your record, but if you win 6-6, you're probably
Be a good team.
beat a solid team. Then Cowboys are 7-5 if they lose. Then you can start looking at Philly. They might.
Philly and Washington, that it's going to get competitive. It's going to look like the AFC North.
It's gonna feel like last year's NFC East kind of battle. Or I mean, they're not all shitty this year. I mean, if Dallas continues to lose, it's gonna be a shitty situation. But I mean, they're all pretty solid teams, but it's a battle.
And all that coin flip team, like when you play them, you could get a really good version of that team or the bad version.
Yep.
And it's like a 50-50 shot if they're going to win.
Yeah.
The records kind of portray that.
Exactly. So that is going to do it for today's show here on Thursday, December 2nd. Oh, we have to pick. So game picks. Well, Logan didn't give me his game pick. We'll get that shortly after the show. See if we can get his game pick here quick. But with all this kind of going...
I've been on delivered for 52 minutes, so
Yeah,
he's busy.
He's busy.
Big Christmas decorations.
Oh.
Yep. And the wife are decorating the house.
Oh, Jesus.
Beautiful. Just beautiful.
Beginning to look a lot like 2001. Did you see that? That McAfee? That was awesome. But I think for tonight's game, Cowboys Saints, I'm gonna go with Dallas. I mean, they got Amari Cooper back. They got DeMarcus Lawrence back. I think they play some good football tonight, especially with the Saints missing a lot of their stars, their tackles. And Taysom Hill, I think it's gonna be a close one. I think it's gonna be a fun game kind of to watch. But it's gonna be. I just don't know what to expect out of Taysom Hill tonight. So I got Dallas.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect either, and just with the way that Dallas has been playing, like what Dallas are we gonna get? But like you said, them getting a lot of their firepower back with Amari Cooper, and Mike McCarthy being out. I was like, it's kind of a crappy situation, but you got Dak Prescott at quarterback. He's gonna step up. So I got Dallas winning by at least a touchdown today.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment there, I think. So those are our picks. We both got Dallas. Logan's will figure out here in the next couple hours whenever he decides to respond after hanging up his Christmas tree and his ornaments. But that is going to do it for today's show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, whether that be on Facebook or YouTube. If you're on YouTube, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Well, I would say bless you, but it wasn't a sneeze, so excuse me.
Like both.
Yeah.
Damn.
But anyways, go enjoy the rest of your night. Watch tonight's matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and the New Orleans Saints. We'll see you here tomorrow for Fantasy Football Friday. And you just got your fix with the Wicks. Appreciate it, guys, and have a great one. Peace out.